What's going on YouTube? My name is Amisbro, and for this particular video we are looking at another anime for the anime review series. This is episode 22 of the series, and tonight we are doing Psycho-Pass Season 2. We just ended tonight, and we just actually wrapped up about maybe 20 minutes ago. So, what is the idea behind this season? Well, what we got here is the civil system is still judge, jury, and executioner. You still are using dominators to judge people with their crime coefficient, because for anybody who hasn't seen Psycho-Pass 1 yet, which by the way go and look at my review for season 1. The idea behind Psycho-Pass is we live in an alternate version of Japan where people are judged by what is called their crime coefficient and their psychopaths. Some people can be judged as latent criminals. Those people can actually be reformed, though, and turned into enforcers. Enforcers are essentially, I hate to say it like this, but there's anyways lapdogs to the to the inspectors of the MWPSB. Do not ask me what all five of those are. Public safety, we'll call it the Public Safety Bureau, right? Okay. Well, there's two things that can really screw a person over: your crime coefficient and your psychopaths, which has a hue to it. There's clears a bell, and then it can go completely black. And if it does that, you're screwed. Your crime coefficient is almost like a temperature. To explain what I mean there, you know how when you take your temperature, or even your blood pressure, for those of you that have to get that monitored, it raises or lowers accordingly. Well, there's at least two danger zones for crime coefficient. 100, which means you would just be tranquilized or stunned by a weapon called the Dominator, or 300 and above, in which case, yeah, you dead. Think about that for a minute. Now, knowing what I just set up for you, let's talk about Season 2. In Season 2, they introduced a drug called Lekos, I believe it was, which was supposed to lower your crime coefficient and help artificially clear up your hue. Well, there was a person who wanted to challenge Sybil. Yes. Yet another one. Except this one wasn't as devious as Shogo Makishima in Season 1. This one was a bit more calculating. And maybe not as disturbing as Makishima, but pretty close. The guy's name is Karito Kaumi. Okay? Well, you find out some really disturbing about him later. Okay, and you actually meet him pretty early in the season. Well, apparently, he has a right-hand person. And her name, I took a look for it because it's not that easy to remember. But her name was Mizu Shizui. She was a inspector for the MWPSB. Do you know why? Let's put it this way. There's a reason that Kanumi could beat the system or even not really appear to be a person, a living, breathing human being. But that is discussed a little bit later in the season. Whenever he goes after someone, whenever he commits a murder, he always leaves a marker at his crime scenes. WC. What does that stand for? What color? Referring to what color is your hue. His ultimate challenge was to try and cloud Akane Tsunemori. But she was going to have her own battles internally. Because you see, Shimizuki didn't trust her, despite the fact that she basically was the one left in charge of the division ever since the person whom she was working under, Genoza Nobuchika, became an enforcer because of his crime coefficient. Oh, and don't even get me started about the chief. I never liked her. Never. But anyway, check this out. So, the chief has a kid. And the kid's name, excuse me, was Sakura Togen. Why is this important? Well, like I mentioned, they're related to some degree. And he has a very distinct honor. Every inspector that he was ever associated with had their hue clouded black. And that became his particular goal for the entire season. So, just to be clear, you have Karito Kagumi running around, but Sybil couldn't really detect him. Then you have Togen, whose goal was to try and raise the crime coefficient excuse me, of our good friend Akane Tsunemori. You see the problem? Yeah. Talk about getting it from both ends, huh? Anyways, when you break it down and you watch this particular season and you take those two plot lines, they do actually a very good job of building the story up. As long as you can keep the pieces together, and they actually do a very good job of that. There are people that have been outright brutal on another website, which I will not mention, that have basically given episodes very low ratings individually. But maybe they weren't paying attention as well as someone like me who constantly takes notes of episodes on a daily basis when I'm watching them. Observations, character developments, plot developments, story, everything. It's not something I take lightly when it comes to doing these reviews. And I think they were expecting something a lot more than what 11 episodes is going to give you, because this is only 11 episode series, or season rather. And here's the thing: they kept hinting at Kogane, the former enforcer that worked under Akane. Well, I think they're building up to something when it comes to the movie January the 8th, which comes out in Japan and is licensed by Funimation. And I think they're building up to something with that, and that's kind of why they kept teasing him. Because the movie comes out only in a few weeks. And I think the release date of the movie may have crippled the story just a little bit, because it seemed like they were rushing things too much. I would have actually loved to have seen, okay, if you could have gotten maybe 2 to 3 more episodes out of anything to do with Komi and Akane. Okay, because when you're looking at the series from the perspective that I do, the last 2 episodes actually looked pretty interesting. But if you could have built up to that even more, or found a way to make him a new enforcer. That's what I honestly was thinking they were going to do towards the end of the story. It's obviously not what happens, but the way, in many respects, that he was being protective of Akane towards the end made me think, okay, they're going to keep him around for either the movie and he become a new enforcer, or they would maybe keep him around for season 3 if they do one, and again, he would become a new enforcer for her. That's what I thought they were going to do. Sadly, I didn't get that wish. It's a shame too, because it actually, I think, would have been a really good story if you gave me a couple more episodes out of it. But it wasn't bad. Was it? What was it really rushed? No, not really. Like, this season, to me, it kind of gets that bad rap because, excuse me, because maybe people thought that the episodes were going 100 miles an hour, kind of like they do in season 2 of Black Butler. And the episodes do go fast. There's one episode, I swear to you, where they give you so much information to try and digest. You're literally trying to say, slow down, I'm trying to, keep up with you here. And that does happen. But for the most part, I have no issue with the story progression, no issue with the character development. I actually like what they did with one character, Sho Hana. I always mispronounce this. Is it Hanakawa? Let me check. Yeah, Hinakawa. I'm sorry. And they actually go into his dependency on pills to help him cope with his depression. There's actually an episode where it almost looks like he dies. Don't worry, he doesn't. But it was so interesting to see the way they developed that. By the way, funny story about that. The same person that plays Hinakawa in season 2 played Shogo in season 1. Ain't that some shit? So, let's bottom line this real quick. Should you be watching Psycho-Pass season 2? Without a question. Animation stays on par. Stays where it needed to. Fine. Character development, the way they developed Akane's story, more the way they also developed Genoza, who genuinely seems to care for, as well as the way they treated Sho and the relationship with Akane. He actually calls her Big Sis, and he has he's loyal to her in many respects. Matter of fact, there's actually an episode when, because he's a hologram expert, so he who was it? Shion needed help with something. So he said, I'll help. He goes, I need to help Big Sis. And he did. That's loyalty, and that is something you see it in animes. We take it for granted sometimes. you don't take it lightly when it comes to show because of his depression issue and his loyalty, it seems, to his inspector, to his head of the division. And I love that about the character. He's legitimately one of my favorite characters in the series. So, let's wrap this up. Should you be watching Psycho-Pass Season 2? The answer, yes. Should you be watching Psycho-Pass at all? Damn straight. Especially if you want to get a study on the way people can sometimes rationalize their evil behaviors. I mean, he's one of my favorite antagonists, Makishima, from Season 1. Sybil couldn't judge him because he could somehow, in his sick mind, rationalize everything he did. And his crime coefficient, even if it went up, kept going down to the point where it was literally nothing. His hue was pretty much as clear as Akane's, and that was scary. But please go watch Psycho-Pass. Please give it a watch and get ready because there's a movie coming out in January the 8th. And that is the next time Sybil will be active. So, until then, my friends, court is adjourned and the case of Kirito Kamui is closed. Good night.